What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. And you guys know we usually talk a lot about free-to-play games on this channel, but recently most of you guys asked me to make some videos about some good single-player games to play on a low-end systems. So today I'm going to take a step forward from our usual free-to-play content and bring you guys 15 of my favorite single-player games that you can play on any low-end PC in 2023. So if you have a system with a dual-core CPU and alongside 4 gigs of RAM and some Intel HD graphics, you can basically play any of these games without any issues. So without further ado guys, let's get right into it. Alright guys, first of all, this list is not in any particular order like worst to best or anything, and also I'm not going to include multiple games in a single given game series. So yeah, I'm going to start with number 15. We got Burnout Paradise. It's an open world arcade racing game, initially released way back in 2008 and was published by EA, and I always thought that Burnout series is kinda outshined by the Need for Speed games, but compared to Need for Speed games, Burnout Paradise is heavily focused on the destruction, insane customization and pretty cool open world activities. And the game also recently got a remastered version as well. I haven't played the remastered version, I played the original game way back in 2008. So whether you decide to play the original version or the remastered version, the system requirements are basically pretty low specs friendly. It's a highly recommended racing game, especially if you have a low-end system. Alright, next up we got a pretty recently released game compared to most of the other games available on today's list, and that is the Subnautica. It's an open world underwater survival / exploration type of a game which was initially released back in 2018. The game lets you jump into this massive underwater open world to explore and also let you have some of these cool items that help you along the journey. I'm not gonna lie guys, it's a pretty challenging game. I kinda have a love and hate relationship with this game because sometimes it's absolutely beautiful to drop down, dive, explore. It's a completely different planet underwater, but sometimes it's absolutely terrifying and feel like you're playing a horror game. So if you're up for a unique and a challenging experience, definitely give it a try on Subnautica, and it's absolutely playable even with a pretty low-end system in 2023. Alright, next up we got Just Cause 2. It's a massive open world sandbox third-person shooter which was published by Square Enix and released way back in 2010. It's a very popular game when it comes to open world genre. You probably already played this game before, but on my personal experience with the game, I would say the game is probably one of the most chaotic and one of the most fun open worlds that you can play. Yes, the game also does have a storyline, but I would say the story is pretty average. But the definite highlight of this game is the open world and the sandbox style gameplay. You have access to massive arsenal of weapons and vehicles. You can pretty much restock anything that you can see in the open world, and it's absolutely fun to play. Yes, the Just Cause 3 is the second entry of the series, and after that Just Cause 3 came out, Just Cause 4 after that, but we are considering about low-end gamers here, so Just Cause 2 is perfect to play on any low-end system in 2023. Alright, next up we got Batman Arkham City. It's hands down one of the most best rated superhero games out there. It's just basically a 10 out of 10 game. I gotta say I'm usually not much of a fan when it comes to superhero games, but I absolutely love this Batman series. I play all 3 games, and this is actually the second game. Previously they released the Batman Arkham Asylum, and if you have a low-end system you can basically play these first 2 games without any issues, but the third game, the Batman Arkham Knight, definitely needs some type of a beefy computer to play. Nevertheless guys, you can pick up all 3 games, the whole Batman collection, for like very dirt cheap prices, especially on the sale times. So it's a must play game, highly recommended guys. If you haven't played it yet, definitely give it a try. Alright, next up we got one of the most underrated open world games which I personally think, and that is the LA Noire. LA Noire is an open world crime detective game published by Rockstar Games. Yes, it's an open world game made by Rockstar, and you might think this is basically something like GTA 5 or GTA 4, and let me tell you, it's absolutely not. I think LA Noire is one of the most advanced games to be released back in like 2010-2011 era, and in this game you play as a detective and your objective is to go onto scenes, investigate and solve crimes. But honestly, it's not as easy as it sounds, because this game does have the realistic motion captures on the faces, so you have to pay really close attention on anyone that you encounter with, whether they're saying the truth or they're lying, purely just looking at their facial expressions, which is honestly something very unique and very advanced for the time period, and I haven't seen anything like this released ever after that. It's a must play open world game. Highly recommend you guys to try the game out. I know many of you guys never played this game before. Now the game is pretty old and absolutely can run on any low-end PC in 2023. Alright, next up we got Mafia 2. Story-wise, completely different to our previous game, LA Nora. In this game, you are the one who are doing all the crimes. Mafia series always had a really good, strong storyline, and I played all 3 Mafia games so far, and Mafia 2 is actually my first Mafia game that I played. In this game, you play as a character called Vito Scalata, and he came from World War II back in Empire Bay, and he get in touch with his best friend. The game had a really good story. I'm not going to spoil anything. As an open world game, the game had a really good story. That is definitely the highlight part of this game. But when it comes to open world activities, it's not as fun as GTA for sure, but at the same time it's absolutely worth playing. The game initially released back in 2010, and recently we got a definitive edition. It's more like a remastered version of this game, but the classic version of this game is absolutely playable on any potato PC in 2023. Alright, next up we got Sleeping Dogs, very underrated open world game, but at the same time very popular, and many of you guys already played this game. It's an open world action third-person game, very similar to a game like GTA 5, but much more heavily focused on the martial art combat. The game has an incredible storyline. I absolutely enjoy the fighting, driving, and pretty much all open world activities. So fun to play. It's just a great over-the-top action movie type of a game, where fighting and the melee combat is definitely the highlight of this game. But it's so sad to see they haven't released a sequel to this game. Nevertheless, it's a super fun open world game, absolutely playable on a low-end system. Alright, next up we got a game you guys already played, but I have to add this on today's list, and that is the Far Cry 3. Honestly, no introduction needed, absolutely masterpiece of an open world game, and pretty much all Far Cry games after the Far Cry 3 is basically the same with a different story. Initially released way back in 2012, and hands down my favorite game from the series. You play as Jason Brody, who goes on a vacation in this beautiful tropical island with their friends, and you get captured by some pirates, and the story goes on. If you haven't played it yet, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's a must-play open world game, and the game can absolutely run on any low-end PC in 2023. Alright, next up we got probably one of my favorite game series which I was playing back when I was a kid, and that is the Hitman series. Yes, I know Hitman games are not technically an open world game, but when you jump into a mission, the game let you have the full freedom to do whatever you want. You can basically take out your targets in 10-15 different ways. Because of that, Hitman games always had a high replayability value. So far, I played every single Hitman game that I've released until now, but we are talking about low-end games here, so basically you can play the first 5 entries of the series, which is Hitman 1 to 3, and then Hitman Blood Money and Hitman Absolution. But the games after that definitely need a beefy system to play. But nevertheless, it's an incredible game, heavily focused on the stealth. Definitely give it a try if you haven't played any of these games before. Alright, next we gotta talk about the elephant in the room, the GTA series or the Grand Theft Auto series. I'm not going to explain anything because if you haven't played GTA games, you must be living under a rock, guys. Anyway, GTA 5 is a masterpiece of a game, 10 out of 10, and definitely can run on any low-end system. And all the previous game on the series also can run the games like GTA Vice City, San Andreas, and also GTA 4. And also, if you are someone like me eagerly waiting for the release of the GTA 6, definitely drop a comment down below. Anyway, let's move into the number 5. Alright, next up at number 5 we got Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, absolute legend of a game, probably one of the best games that I've ever played alongside Witcher 3. It's a massive open world fantasy RPG game from Bethesda, initially released back in 2011. Currently we got a couple of versions of this game. We got the all classic version and also the special edition, which is more like a remastered version. Yes, the graphics and the visual look somewhat outdated, but the open world and the story, it's absolutely amazing. It is something you must play if you haven't played the game already. And also it's pretty easy to run on a low-end system. Moving on, we got one of my favorite first-person shooter franchise, and that is the Crysis. And I'm talking about the original, the first Crysis game, which was released back in 2007. Yes, it's a much more linear experience compared to most of the other open-world games. And this original Crysis game is honestly not that heavy when it comes to system requirements. But recently we got all 3 Crysis games remastered again: Crysis 1, Crysis 2, and Crysis 3. Those will definitely need some beefy system to play. Nevertheless, definitely try out the original Crysis game if you haven't played already. One of the best sci-fi shooters with an incredible story, definitely worth giving it a try. Alright, at number 3 we got one of my favorite action adventure games, and that is the Tomb Raider series. And I'm talking about the original Tomb Raider game, which was released back in 2013. And I remember playing this game back in the day. I had a graphic card which is the Nvidia GT610. It's a pretty low end graphic card. The game ran perfectly fine for me. It's just an incredible game with incredible story, and also the game was given free multiple times on Epic Games Store as well as on Steam. So if you have already claimed the game, check out your game library, and if you haven't played the game yet, you're definitely missing out on a lot. So highly recommend you guys to play the game. And also the system requirements are pretty easy to run, easily playable with a low-end system. Alright, next up at number 2 we got Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. Honestly, this game came as a surprise for me back in 2015 because I never played any Metal Gear games before. This is actually my first game that I have played, and it is hands down one of the best open world stealth action games that I ever played. The games give you a lot of tactical freedom to carry out your operations whatever way you like. For example, you can just either be very stealthy and very creative with your approach, or you can just go all guns blazing. And also the game has a really good story, but I really didn't get the hang of it. Honestly, it was my first Metal Gear game, and also the game does seem to have somewhat of a higher system requirement compared to most of the other games on today's list, but nevertheless easily playable with a low-end system even with Intel HD graphics. So I highly recommend you guys to try out the game. Alright, at number 1 spot we got everyone's favorite Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, probably one of the best pirate games ever made. Initial release back in 2013 and of course published by Ubisoft. In this game you play as Edward Kenway, the pirate who turned assassin, and the story goes on. And this is actually probably the most popular Assassin's Creed game from the whole series, and I personally like the Assassin's Creed 3 more, but for the most people Black Flag is their favorite game from the series. Nevertheless guys, one of the best games, absolutely can run on any potato PC in 2023. And pretty much all Assassin's Creed before that can also run on any low-end system, so it's absolutely worth giving it a try. Well, that's pretty much wrap up the video guys. I usually haven't talked about anything other than free-to-play games on my channel, but nevertheless it's a good change of pace. I hope you guys enjoy the video and find some at least couple of games you haven't played already. I know these games are pretty old and pretty popular, so if this video helpful to you in some way, definitely drop a like and also subscribe. So I catch you guys soon in my next video. Stay safe.